The sky was red with fire. Burning ships fell from above like dying stars. Smoke filled the air. Bodies of soldiers, both human and alien, lay across the shattered battlefield. Blaster shots still echoed in the distance, but most of the fighting was over here. The war had left nothing behind, except silence and ashdot. Lieutenant Cade Walker stepped over broken armor and melted steel. His rifle was low, but his eyes stayed sharp. His unit had moved ahead hours ago, but Cade had stayed behind to search for wounded. Or maybe he just didn't want to follow orders anymore. He had seen too much. He turned a corner behind a collapsed alien crawler tank. That's when he saw her. She was lying under a slab of metal, breathing shallow, her white armor stained with purple blood. Her crown was cracked. Her silver hair spread around her like fallen threads of moonlight. Even in the dirt and death, she looked untouched. A near Ellian, and not just any Nirelian, a princess. Cade's heart raced. His hand gripped the rifle. Tighter. The Nirelians were the enemy. They had started the war. Her father was the emperor of the 13th ring. Billions had died because of him. Because of her. She opened her eyes, soft, glowing, violet eyes. No hatred, just fear, and something else. "Help me," she whispered. Her voice was weak, barely there. Cade stared at her. His mission was clear. Eliminate enemy survivors. A cleanup operation, that's what Command had said. But this didn't feel like war anymore. It felt like something else. "I should kill." "You?" Cade said quietly. "I know," she answered. He didn't move. For a long moment, there was only the wind and distant thunder. Then, he dropped his rifle. "Hold still." He lifted the heavy metal piece off her leg. She cried out in pain. The bone was broken. He tore part of his sleeve, wrapped the leg fast, and lifted her into his arms. "You're making a mistake," she whispered. "Story of my life," Cade muttered. He carried her across the ruins, past the dead and dying. No one saw them. Number 1 stopped them. That night, he found shelter in a burned-out shuttle hangar. He built a small fire and laid her down on an old pilot seat. Her face was pale, feverish. "What's your name?" he asked. She looked at him for a long time. "Lyra, Princess Lyra," he guessed. She nodded slowly. "Why were you on the front line?" "I ran away," she said. Cade blinked. "You ran away from your own army." "I didn't agree with the war," she said. "I spoke against it. My father wanted me silenced, so he sent you to die." "No," she said. Softly, "he sent someone else to do that." There was silence again. Then Cade looked up. "They'll come looking for you, and when they find me, they'll kill you too." He stared into the fire. "Then we better not be here when they do." Over the next day, Cade patched up a broken speeder. He gave her water, food, painkillers. He didn't ask why he was doing it. He just did. "Why didn't you leave me?" she asked one night. He thought for a moment. "Because you looked human." "I'm not." "I know, but you looked like someone who didn't want to die." She smiled, but it was a sad smile too. Days later, the scanner beeped. Cade checked it. 3 life signatures. "Moving fast, they found us," he said. "Yours or mine." "Does it matter?" He helped her onto the speeder. They raced into the night, the engine screaming. But behind them, ships roared in pursuit. Cade flew low between jagged cliffs, trying to lose them. Blaster fire lit up the sky. One shot hit. Near the engine, smoke poured out. "We're not going to make it," Lyra said. "Yes, we are." "No." Cade, listen. She touched his arm. Her eyes met his. "There's something you need to know." "Now?" he shouted over the engine. "Yes," she said. "I'm not just a princess. I'm a key." "A what?" "My blood carries a genetic code, a memory sequence. It's proof that the Empire rewrote history, that they destroyed the first pact, that they lied to every species in the galaxy." Cade stared at her. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you saved me, and now they'll kill you for it." The speeder dropped suddenly. They hit the ground, rolling hard. Cade coughed, pulled Lyra free. The ships landed nearby. Black-armored soldiers stepped out. Not Nirelians, not his own army. Mercenaries. They didn't want her rescued. They wanted her erased. Cade grabbed his rifle. "Can you run?" "I'll try." They ran through the canyon. Shots followed them. One hit near Cade's foot. He turned and fired back, dropping one of the mercs. Lyra limped beside him. They found a cave and ducked inside. "What now?" she asked. He looked at her. "We get you out. We get you to someone who can use that memory code." "They'll kill you," she said. "They'll try." She looked at him again. Her hand touched his. "Thank you." He didn't answer. Outside, the soldiers were coming. Cade checked his last grenade, reloaded his rifle, and smiled. "This is going to be fun." The cave was cold, damp, and pitch dark. Cade held his rifle tightly, listening. Footsteps echoed in the distance, soft but steady. The mercenaries were close. Too close. Lyra leaned against the rock wall, breathing hard. Her leg throbbed, and her hands trembled from pain and fear. Still, her eyes remained calm. "They won't stop," she whispered. "I know," Cade said, "but neither will I." He moved slowly to the entrance and peered out. 3 black-armored soldiers were sweeping the canyon with scanning lights. One of them raised a CUM device, targets in the cave. Moving in, Cade cursed under his breath. He looked at the single grenade in his vest. "One chance, Lyra," he said softly. "Can you move if I give you a few seconds? I'll try." He handed her a small tracker beacon. "Go west through the tunnels. This beacon will hide you from their scans for a while. When you're out, keep heading toward the sun." She took it, hesitating. "What about you?" "I'll be behind you," he said. She didn't believe him, but she nodded anyway. The moment she disappeared into the side passage, Cade pulled the pin, and through the grenade outside the cave entrance, it exploded with a sharp, thunderous boom. Dust filled the air. Screams echoed. Cade burst out, firing in short, controlled bursts. 2 mercenaries dropped. The third dove behind a boulder and shot back. Cade rolled, took cover, and flanked him fast. 1 clean shot to the helmet. It was over. But more ships were coming. Cade saw them above, black specks growing larger against the red sky. No time, he turned and ran through the tunnel after Lyra. The tunnel was narrow and twisted. Water dripped from the ceiling. Cade's breath came fast. His muscles ached, but he kept moving. He caught up with her near a collapsed stone wall. She was on the ground, gasping. "I can't keep going," she said. Double quotes, "Yes, you can." He lifted her again and pushed forward. His body screamed at him to stop, but he didn't. They came out on the other side of the canyon, just as the sun began to rise. The sky turned gold, lighting the desert below. In the distance, a small outpost shimmered in the heat. Cade narrowed his eyes. "That's a rebel outpost," he said. "Will they help us?" Lyra asked. "Only if they don't know who you are." They moved toward it slowly. The outpost was made of metal huts and broken satellite dishes. Cade waved his arms as they approached. A guard stepped out with a rifle raised. "Stop there. State your name." "Lieutenant Cade Walker, ex-Union Army." "I have information." The guard frowned. "You're on the blacklist, Walker. I know, but I brought something the rebellion wants." The guard stared for a moment, then called on his CUM. "Get Commander Reese." Now, 10 minutes later, Cade and Lyra were inside the command hut. Commander Reese, a woman with silver hair and 1 mechanical arm, eyed them suspiciously. "A Norellian," she said. "She's not just any Norellian," Cade replied. "She has proof that the Empire falsified history, evidence stored in her blood." Reese raised an eyebrow. "You expect me to believe that? I don't care if you believe it. Test her, you'll see." Reese nodded to a tech. The young man took a blood sample from Lyra and ran it through a scanner. As the results came in, his eyes widened. "Commander, it's true. She has a locked genetic code. It's ancient, not modified, real." "What's in it?" "Historical records, treaties, star maps, names of species that were erased from the archives. Things we never knew existed." Reese looked at Lyra. "You've just become the most valuable person in the galaxy," she said, "and the most hunted." Lyra replied. Reese turned to Cade. "You've caused a storm, Lieutenant." "I didn't plan to," he said. "Well, you're in it now." That night, the base went into lockdown. Reese called a secret meeting with rebel leaders from nearby systems. The data in Lyra's blood could unite the scattered resistance into one force, but not everyone agreed. "She's the enemy," one rebel leader growled. "Her people killed my family." "She's trying to stop them," Cade argued. "She ran from her empire. They tried to kill her, too." Another leader leaned forward. "If we use her, we risk everything. If we don't, We keep losing. Silence filled the room. Finally, Reese stood up. We'll send a copy of the data to every rebel cell, but the original stays hidden, and so does she. Cade nodded. I'll take her, Reese frowned. They'll be after you both. Every bounty hunter, every Black Ops unit, every traitor with a scanner. Good, Cade said. Let them come. Lyra touched his arm as they walked out. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do, he said. Why? He looked at her. Because you were right. This war is wrong. And if your truth can end it, I'll help you carry it. They left the outpost at dawn, using a stolen ship with a scrambled ID. The galaxy was wide, dangerous, but something had changed. Between them, they weren't just running, they were fighting back. From now on, it wasn't just about survival, it was about justice. And they were going to bring it to the stars together. The stars outside the ship's window shimmered like broken glass. Space was silent, but inside the stolen cruiser, tension crackled like fire. Cade sat in the pilot's seat, hands steady on the controls, eyes fixed on the nav screen. Lyra sat behind him, silent, watching his reflection. They had jumped twice now, avoiding known patrol routes, but every route they took felt tighter, darker, as if the galaxy itself was shrinking. We're being tracked, Cade said quietly. Lyra leaned forward. How the ID is scrambled. They're not using IDs, they're following patterns, and they're getting smarter. She stood and walked over to his side. There's a dead zone 3 sectors out. No satellites, no sensors. We could hide. There for a while, he nodded. We'll try it. As the ship drifted into hyperspace, Lyra sat beside him. Her leg was healing, but she still limped slightly. Cade noticed, but he said nothing. You've gone quiet, she said. I'm thinking. About what? He looked at her. You said your father wants that genetic code destroyed. Why go so far to erase the past? She hesitated. Because the past shows who really ruled the galaxy before him, and it wasn't the Norellians then, who the first pact. A council of many species, peaceful, balanced, until the Norellians wiped them out. My father told me they were savages, but the memories in my blood say something else. Cade clenched his jaw, so he erased history and replaced it with lies. Yes, and I'm the proof that those lies exist. Cade nodded slowly. That's why they'll never stop. The ship dropped out of hyperspace, entering a stretch of space filled with asteroid debris. The system was dark, silent. No beacons, no patrols. Cade guided the ship behind a large asteroid and powered down all systems except life support. For now, he said, we wait. They sat in silence for a while. Then Lyra looked at him. Cade, do you ever wonder if we're doing the right thing? He raised an eyebrow. You're asking me? Yes, he sighed, every day. But then I think about what we saw, what they did, and I realize I don't want to live in their version of the future. She smiled faintly. You sound like someone who used to believe in something. I did, he said, but war takes that from you, piece by piece. She touched his arm lightly. Maybe it's time to believe again. Suddenly, a warning flashed on the console. Cade stood instantly. Incoming ship. No beacon, no ID. It's close. Lyra jumped to her feet. They found us, Cade powered. The ship up and pulled out of hiding. The enemy ship appeared on the screen, sleek, black with sharp wings. A bounty hunter class. They're locking on, he muttered. The cruiser shook as the first blast hit. Cade rolled hard to the left, dodging fire. Can we outrun them? Lyra shouted. No, but we can trick them. He shot toward a dense asteroid field nearby. The enemy followed, dodging rocks. Cade flew through narrow tunnels between stone and ice. One wrong move, and they'd be crushed. The enemy kept firing. Sparks flew from the ceiling as the ship groaned. Lyra yelled. Not for long. Cade dove into a narrow crack between 2 huge asteroids. He powered down again. Everything went dark. The enemy ship flew past, unable to track them. They held their breath. 1 minute passed, then another. They're gone, Cade whispered. Lyra let out a shaky breath. That was close, too close. They waited in the dark for another hour, just in case. Then, as they turned the systems back on, a new message flashed on the console. Detected, Cade said. Rebel frequency. It's short, but it's coming from a nearby system. Outpost Theta 7. Lyra leaned in. That's a secure Rebel archive station. If we can upload the data there, it goes system-wide, Cade finished. They exchanged a look. We go there, Lyra said. Agreed. The station orbited a dead planet. It looked abandoned, floating in silence. But as Cade's ship approached, a voice crackled through the comms. Identify. This is Cade Walker. I have the princess and the code. Static buzzed. Then proceed to dock quickly. They landed in the empty bay. 2 Rebel guards met them, weapons up, but not aimed. One scanned Lyra. The device beeped and turned green. This way, the guard said. Inside the station was dim and cold. Power was low. Screens flickered. The commander was a short man named Heaven, with sharp eyes and a permanent frown. You weren't supposed to come here, he said. Cade crossed his arms. Then why send the signal? I didn't, Heaven said. It wasn't me. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Then who? Suddenly, the lights flickered. A low hum filled the station. Doors sealed shut with a loud hiss. Cade reached for his weapon. What's happening? Heaven turned to the console. No, this isn't possible. What? Cade barked. The station's systems, they've been hijacked. Someone else is controlling it. The main screen lit up. A figure appeared, tall, armored, face hidden by a silver mask. I knew you would come, the figure said. You always were predictable, Lyra. Her face went pale. No. Who is that? Cade asked. My brother, she whispered. Brother. Cade turned. You never said you had a brother. He's worse than my father, she said. Koldar, he leads the Shadow Division, secret assassins. He's the one who was sent to kill me. The figure on the screen tilted its head. You've run long enough, sister. Come home, or die like the traitor you are. Cade stepped forward. If you want her, you'll have to come through me. Oh, I plan to, Koldar said. The screen went black. Then alarms blared there. Coming, Haven said. He has ships on the way. Cade looked at Lyra. We don't have time to run. We don't, she agreed. But we do have the upload terminal. Cade turned to Heaven. How long to upload the data? 5 minutes? Then start it, he said. We'll hold them off. Lyra touched his arm. If they breach the station, they won't, he said. Go, I've got you. She ran with Haven to the data core. Cade stood alone in the hallway, rifle raised, heart pounding outside the station. Koldar's ship arrived, and inside, Cade prepared for war. The floor vibrated beneath Cade's boots. The station's walls groaned as the enemy ship latched onto the outer hull. Koldar had arrived, and he wasn't bringing peace. Cade crouched behind a reinforced bulkhead near the main docking corridor. The lights above flickered as pressure alarms echoed through the halls. He checked his rifle one last time, then whispered into his com. Lyra, you there? Her voice came through, tight with fear and focus. Yes, upload's at 40%. You've got maybe 4 minutes before the welcome party breaks through. I'll hold them off too if I have to. Cade smirked. You just focus on the truth. I'll handle the monsters. He ended the comm and took a slow breath. The outer doors blew open with a violent hiss. Smoke poured into the corridor. Then they stepped through black-armored soldiers. No emblems, no lights, no voices. The Shadow Division, silent, deadly, loyal only to Koldar. Cade fired first. 3 shots, 3 hits. The front line dropped, but more kept coming. He ducked as a blast scorched the wall behind him. They were fast, too fast. He rolled behind a crate and launched a flash grenade. White light exploded through the corridor. The shadows screamed, clutching their helmets. Cade rose and fired again. One by one, they fell, but more poured in. Meanwhile, deep in the station's archive core, Lyra stood over the upload console. Her hands hovered over the glowing panel. Behind her, Commander Haven was working furiously to maintain power. They're cutting into our systems. If they shut the core, the data will vanish. I know, Lyra said. Her eyes were locked on the progress bar. Heaven nodded slowly. You've got your father's fire. Let's hope you don't get his ending. The station shook again. Then the lights flickered. A section of the wall cracked open, and Koldar stepped through. Tall, armored in deep silver and black. His mask shimmered with strange patterns. Sister, he said softly. It didn't have to be this way. Lyra stood tall. Yes, it did. Koldar raised his arm. A long energy blade hissed to life. Heaven raised his weapon, but Koldar moved faster. One flash of light, and Heaven dropped to the floor, unmoving. Lyra backed up. The upload was at 90%. "You can't stop this," she said. "I can," Koldar replied, "and I will." He lunged forward. Cade heard her scream through the cum. His heart skipped. He didn't think. He ran, he raced through the station, leaping over fallen enemies, smoke clouding his path. He reached the archive door just as Koldar raised his blade again. "Get away from her," Cade roared. He tackled Koldar with full force. They crashed into a console, sparks flying. The blade scraped Cade's armor, slicing through the edge. Pain exploded in his shoulder, but he didn't stop. He punched, kicked, fought like a man possessed. Koldar hit back with strength Cade didn't expect. His blows were brutal, precise, but Cade had one thing Koldar didn't: someone to protect. He grabbed a live cable from the floor and shoved it into Koldar's side. The masked warrior screamed as electricity surged through him. He flew back, crashing into the wall. Cade collapsed, coughing. Lyra rushed to him. "You're hurt." "I'm fine," he lied. Behind them, the console beeped. Upload complete. The screen blinked to life. Data streamed across the galaxy. Names, maps, hidden truths, secrets the Empire had buried for generations now, exposed to every rebel, every free world, every citizen with a screen. "What have you done?" Koldar growled, rising. "What we had to," Lyra said. Koldar rushed forward, but a sudden boom shook the station again. This time, it wasn't an enemy ship. It was reinforcements. Outside, rebel ships dropped from hyperspace. Fighters swarmed. Koldar's cruiser, explosions lit the void. Koldar turned, saw his plan collapsing, and vanished in a blink, his body flickering into nothing. "A stealth teleport. Coward," Cade muttered. The rebels helped them out. Medical units patched Cade's wound. Lyra stood near the command center, staring at the screens as hundreds of ships across the galaxy responded. Uprisings began in their colonies. Peace talks broke down. Loyalists turned against the throne. Everything had changed, but it wasn't over. Not yet. As Cade sat on the station's edge, watching the stars shift, Lyra joined him. "We won today," she said. He nodded. "But your brother's still out there. He'll come again. I'll be ready." She looked at him. "You don't have to stay. You could walk away now. No one would blame you." He turned to her. "I didn't stay for the galaxy. I stayed for you." For a moment, the war faded. The silence between them felt warmer than any fire. But in the distance, more storms were coming. They had broken the code. Now the galaxy had to decide what came next, and they would be there together. The stars looked peaceful from a distance. But peace was a lie. The galaxy was boiling beneath the surface riots on colony worlds, rebellions in the mining sectors, entire fleets refusing orders from the Empire. The truth Lyra had unleashed was like fire on dry grass, and now it was spreading. Cade leaned against the rail of a small rebel warship, watching the stars pass. His shoulder still ached from Koldar's blade, but that wasn't what kept him awake. It was what came next. Behind him, the ship's door opened. Lyra stepped in. She was dressed differently now, no longer in enemy armor, but in simple black clothes, her silver hair tied back. "They're ready," she said. Cade turned. "To fight." "No, to meet." "Meet who?" She looked at him carefully. "Contact, someone from the old circles." Before the Empire, Cade narrowed his eyes. "You said the first pact was destroyed." "Not all of it," she said. "Some pieces survived. A few leaders vanished. They've been hiding for decades. And now they want to talk." Cade folded his arms. "You trust them?" "I don't trust anyone. But they have tech. We need deep space cloaks, ancient signal masks, ways to move unseen." He nodded slowly. "Then let's hear them out." The ship dropped out of hyperspace. Near a burned-out moon, below, was a single station half buried in ice. It didn't broadcast a signal, didn't show up on any maps. They landed in silence. As the doors opened, two tall figures in long robes greeted them. One had deep green skin. The other was mechanical, but with an organic face. They bowed slightly. "Princess Lyra," said the green one. "We had hoped your father would never find us." "I'm not him," Lyra said. "That's why I'm here." They walked through dark tunnels into a chamber lit with slow-moving lights. Ancient symbols lined the walls. Cade looked around. This place is older than the Empire. Older than your species, the robot replied. We don't have much time, Lyra said. The Shadow Division is hunting us. My brother won't stop. We need help. The leaders looked at one another. We saw your broadcast, the green one said. You've done something no rebel ever could. You made the galaxy doubt the Empire. But doubt is not enough. You need proof. Unshakable proof. I gave them. The truth, Lyra said. Yes, the robot agreed. But memories in your blood can be called a lie. They need to see the source. Lyra frowned. What source? The green figure stepped forward. The vault of the first pact, hidden at the edge of known space. If you reach it, the galaxy will see everything. All records. All crimes. Cade tensed. Let me guess someone's guarding it. The robot nodded. Your father sealed it. Only a direct heir can unlock it. Lyra's face hardened. Then I will. Back on the ship, Cade leaned over the star map. Lyra stood beside him, staring at a distant red star system called Dreth 7. That's where it is, she said. He looked at her. That system's cursed. People say ships disappear there, because the Empire made sure of it. They surrounded the vault with traps and dead beacons. Perfect, Cade muttered. A haunted graveyard. Just what I always wanted. Lyra smiled. You scared? Terrified, he said. But I'm still going. 3 days later, they reached the edge of Dreth 7. The moment they entered, the nav screen went black. No signal. No sensors. We're flying blind, Cade said. Good, Lyra whispered. That means we're close. They drifted forward through strange light and floating wreckage. Old ships cracked in half, hovered in silence. It felt like a graveyard. Or a warning. Then they saw it. A black planet. No lights, no movement. But one structure stood above the surface, a tower made of crystal and steel, glowing faintly from within. The vault, Lyra breathed. As they landed, the ship shook. The engines went cold. It's forcing us to power down, Cade said. No. Weapons, no ships. Only truth, Lyra said softly. They stepped outside. The ground was hard, almost metallic. The wind whispered like voices. They entered the tower. Inside, it was silent. Lights flickered as they walked down a long hall filled with statues of species long forgotten. At the end was a door smooth silver, with a handprint glowing on its surface. Lyra stepped forward. As her hand touched it, the door lit uphand. Opened, a great chamber revealed itself, filled with floating holograms, maps, documents, videos, testimonies from hundreds of worlds. The history of the galaxy, untouched, unedited, unforgiven. Lyra stepped into the light. It scanned her. A voice filled the air. Blood confirmed. Royal line. Access granted. Then something changed. The lights turned red. A message appeared. Intrusion detected. Cade's heart sank. We're not alone. Footsteps echoed behind them. Koldar stepped out of the darkness, flanked by 10 shadow soldiers. You really thought I wouldn't find you? He said. Cade raised his weapon. Get out of our way. Koldar laughed. This place dies with you. He raised his hand, and a blaster fired. But not at Cade. It hit Lyra. She dropped to her knees, clutching her side. Blood ran down her ribs. No, Cade screamed. He fired wildly, taking out 2 soldiers before diving behind cover. Lyra crawled to the console, her face pale, eyes burning with fury. She reached up and touched the final key. Data released. Across the galaxy, systems lit up. It was unstoppable now. Koldar screamed in rage. Cade burst from cover, shooting, dodging, fighting with everything he had. But they were outnumbered. Just as he was pinned, the vault's systems turned against Koldar. Defense turrets dropped from the ceiling, targeting intruders. In seconds, the shadows were turned to ash. Koldar vanished, against teleporting away. Silence. Returned, Cade rushed to Lyra's side. She was breathing, but barely. You did it, he said. Her lips moved. Did we win? He nodded. You changed the galaxy. Her hand gripped his weakly. We're not done yet, she whispered. He held her close. No, not yet. The rebel medics worked fast, but Cade never let go of Lyra's hand. Her blood stained his armor, warm and terrifying. They had faced Koldar. They had unlocked the vault. They had won. But Lyra was dying. The old vault's medical bay was ancient, but still functional. Machines hummed. Lights flickered softly. Cade paced outside her room, fists clenched, teeth grinding. Time felt slow, stretched thin across the hallway like a thread ready to snap taut. Finally, a soft chime sounded. The medbot emerged. "She will live," it said, stabilized. Deep tissue damage reversed. Cade exhaled for the first time in what felt like hours. He stepped into the room. Lyra lay on a clean white bed, pale but awake. She managed a weak smile. "Told you I'm hard to kill," she whispered. "That wasn't funny." She chuckled, then winced. "No, but it's true." He took her hand again. "The vault's data is everywhere now. You lit the match." Her smile faded. Then the fire's coming. Across the galaxy, screens flickered to life. Broadcasts hijacked by the vault's revelations. Every sector saw the same horrors massacres ordered by the Royal Council. Species erased for resisting. Entire moons glassed under Koldar's command. The Empire didn't deny it. They couldn't, but they did what tyrants always do when caught. They struck harder in the outer sectors. Koldar declared martial law. Loyalist fleets bombarded rebel-held planets. Any who questioned the crown were branded traitors. The galaxy was no longer in quiet. Rebellion, it was full-scale war. And Lirutha, Emperor's daughter turned truth-bearer, was the spark at its center. 2 days later, in a secret rebel war room beneath a desert moon, the leaders gathered. Cade stood beside Lyra, who wore a dark cloak now, her wound healing but her spirit sharper than ever. General Venk, the grizzled human leader of the Free Systems Alliance, stared at her. "You realize what you've done," he said. "You've broken the galaxy's spine." "It needed to break," Lyra said. A Xanthari representative hissed. "We've lost 7 colonies in 3 days. Koldar is sending death squads." Cade stepped forward, "And if we run, he wins. The vault gave us proof. We just need to push." Harder. The room was silent, then Ven sighed. "You're right. We strike." He tapped a star map, Koldar's main shipyard. Location, Obsidian Ring. Deep space. Fortress-level defenses. "That's suicide," someone muttered. Ven ignored them. "We destroy it. We cripple his war machine. We cut off his supply lines. We show the galaxy he can bleed." Cade looked at Lyra. She nodded. "We'll lead the strike," she said. The Obsidian Ring wasn't just a shipyard. It was a floating mountain of steel, guarded by a full battle group, and surrounded by a black energy field pulsing like a heartbeat. No one had ever breached it until now. The rebels arrived in silence, hidden by cloaking tech from the First Pact. The moment they entered the ring's orbit, the stealth dissolved. Sirens screamed. Guns turned. Fighters launched. The battle began. Cade's fighter twisted through fire and debris. Going in hot, Lyra flew beside him. "Stay close." Explosions rippled around them. Rebel ships fell, but they kept pushing. Cade's HUD flashed red. "Shields gone." He dove beneath a frigate's burning hull, then shot upward, straight, into the ring's weak point, a maintenance port. Inside, he shouted. They crashed through, skidding down a narrow tunnel until metal gave way to silence. They stepped out into the belly of the beast. 1,000 black armored soldiers waited, stood at the center. Lyra stepped forward. "You always did love dramatic welcomes. I gave you mercy before Koldar said, 'This time, you die screaming.'" Cade raised his weapon. "She's not alone." Koldar grinned. "Neither am I." Behind him, machines activated. Dozens. Of synthetic warrior stall, eyeless, infused with stolen tech rows. Lyra whispered Darkborn. Cade cursed. "We don't have enough firepower." Lyra turned to him. "We don't need firepower. We need time." She pulled a small device from her Belta data drive, glowing bright blue. "What is that?" Cade asked. "The vault's code," she said. "It can overwrite the ring's AI, turn the station against Koldar. Can you do it?" She stared at the control console ahead. "I can try," Koldar shouted. "Kill them," the Darkborn charged. Cade ran forward, intercepting them, firing wildly. He fought like a ghost, moving faster than fear, desperate to protect her. Lyra reached the console, plugged the drive in, screamed as the energy surged through her. The station lights flickered, then turned blue. The AI spoke. Control transferred. Welcome, Princess Lyra. Turrets turned. Darkborn exploded. Koldar roared, his mask shattering in fury. Beneath it, his face was twisted, half machine, half man. I'll rip you apart, he screamed. He charged at Lyra. Cade dove into his path. They clashed. It wasn't elegant. It was raw, violent, savage. To warriors, to beliefs, to broken brothers. Cade took a hit to the gut. Spun, kicked Koldar into a console. Lyra fired a pulse weapon. One shot to Koldar's chest. He collapsed, breathing ragged, sparks flying from his armor. You are no sister of mine, he growled. She stepped forward, calm, final. No, I'm something worse. She pressed a final key. The reactor core began to hum, a countdown. The station would destroy itself. Cade looked at her. You're insane, she grinned. Only a little. They sprinted to the launch bay, dragging Koldar's unconscious form as they launched away. The obsidian ring exploded behind them, blue fire swallowing everything. The Empire's strongest fortress-gone. Back at Rebel Command, cheers erupted across every screen. Worlds began to rise, civil fleets turned on their oppressors. The tide was turning, but Lyra sat in silence. Cade joined her. You okay? He asked. She looked at him. We've won battles, but to win the war, we have to kill the throne, and to do that, we go to the capital. She looked him in the eyes. My mother still rules there. The capital planet of the Empire was called Valeris Prime. It was the heart of the galaxy. Golden towers, rising above white clouds, massive ships patrolling the skies, and statues of emperors standing tall in every square. It looked peaceful, from space, but inside, fear ruled everything. That was where she lived. The Empress, Lyra's mother. She won't let us walk in, Cade said, studying the rotating map of Valeris. We won't walk, Lyra replied. We'll fall from above. General Ven, patched up and limping from the last battle, raised an eyebrow. You want to drop from orbit into the palace? She trained me to think like her, Lyra said. She won't expect me to act like you. Thanks, Cade muttered. The War Council looked at each other, nervous, curious. We take her alive, Lyra said. We put her on trial, show the galaxy that even the throne can bleed. Cade spoke after a pause. And if she doesn't, come quietly. Lyra looked away. No one said anything for a long time. They came in hidden, not an army, just 5 people. Lyra Cade, a stealth expert named Vero, a rebel tech named Juno, and one silent Zenthari who never gave his name. Their small ship broke through Valeris's security net during a solar flare. No sensors, no warnings. They dove through fire. Their goal, the Emperor's Spire, the most heavily guarded place in the galaxy. Lyra stood in the back of the ship, wearing her royal armor. Again black and gold, the crest of her house still across her chest. You look like her, Cade said quietly. Lyra didn't turn. I hope I don't become her. They landed hard on the roof of the spire. Drones swarmed instantly. Go, Lyra shouted. The Zenthari leaped forward, slicing the first drones with his twin blades. Juno jammed the signal. Vero laid down smoke. Cade blasted the door. They dropped into the spire. Like ghosts, every corridor was marble and silence, until the guards came. Imperial Sentinels' white armor, red visors, elite. The battle was short but brutal. Cade took a blast to the shoulder. Vero got hit in the leg. Juno overloaded her weapon and collapsed 2 floors with an explosion. Only Lyra and Cade made it to the throne room, 2 giant doors. Silent, waiting, doors. Silent, waiting. Lyra reached out. They opened before she touched them. The throne room was empty. Except for her, the Empress stood at the far end. Tall, regal, her crown a ring of fire-like gold, her eyes cold as ice. She didn't look surprised. I knew you'd come, she said. Lyra stepped forward slowly. It's over, Mother. The Empress's voice was calm. No, it's only just begun. Cade raised his blaster. Don't move. The Empress ignored him. I watched your little rebellion. I saw Koldar fall. Do you think it changes anything? Lyra's voice was sharp. It changes everything. You exposed lies, the Empress said. Good empires don't die from truth. They adapt. You gave me the perfect excuse to reset the galaxy. Total control. You're mad. No, she said. I'm focused. She pressed something on her wrist. The floor shook. Outside the spire. Black ships began to rise from the clouds. Project Sovereign, a new fleet. Born in silence, controlled by one mind, mine, Lyra froze. You used the vault's code. The Empress nodded. I downloaded it the moment Koldar died. I let you lead the rebellion, so I could see. The cracks, Cade whispered. It was a trap. No, Lyra said. It was a test. She stepped forward. The Empress raised her hand, and the wall behind her turned to glass. The view showed 1,000 black ships ready to launch. I press this, she said, holding a small cube, and they destroy every rebel planet, one by one. You won't, Lyra said. You always wanted control, not fire. The Empress smiled sadly, and you always wanted to believe I had a heart. She turned the cube. Nothing happened. Lyra held up a device, Juno's virus. I uploaded it before we landed. The Empress looked down at the dead cube. For the first time, she looked uncertain. Lyra's voice was calm now. It's over. You have no fleet, no control, no throne. The Empress moved fast. She drew a blade from her robe and lunged. Cade fired, missed Lyra, caught her mother's arm mid-swing. They struggled. The blade came close to close. Lyra's shoulder bled, then Lyra twisted. The blade clattered to the floor. They stared at each other, breathing hard. The Empress whispered, You're strong. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. I had to be. She stepped back. Cade aimed again. Don't. The Empress looked tired. Her hands dropped. Do it, she said. Kill me, no, Lyra said. You'll stand trial, like everyone else. And she walked away. The trial. It was broadcast live. The galaxy watched as the Empress was sentenced. Her crimes listed one by one: mass murder, mind control, betrayal of the Council. She didn't speak, not once. When it was done, she was taken to the deepest cell in the deepest moon, and the Empire fell, not with war, but with truth. Later, as the stars grew quiet again, Cade found Lyra alone on a hilltop. Everyone's celebrating, he said. She nodded. I know, you should be down there. You saved them. She didn't look at him. I didn't save them, she said. I just stopped her. What they do next, that's up to them. Cade sat beside her. I was raised to follow orders, he said. But I followed you, and I don't regret it. She smiled. I followed you too, she said. And maybe we can build something better now. He looked at the stars. Together. She didn't answer right away. Then she whispered, Yes, and for the first time since the war began, she sounded sure. The war was over. The Empress was gone. And for the first time in years, the galaxy was quiet. But peace didn't last long. 2 weeks after the trial, strange signals began to spread across old Imperial networks. No one knew who sent them. They weren't from any known system. They didn't follow standard code. They just pulsed steady, cold, and endless. Cade stood in the control room of the new Rebel Council ship, reading the signal on the main screen. It was like a heartbeat, but too perfect. 2 mechanical. Lyra joined him. Is it from Valoris? She asked. He shook his head. It's coming from beyond the outer cloud, a dead zone. No colonies, no satellites. Then who's sending it? Cade. Didn't answer. He tapped the screen again. The signal repeated. Lyra stared at the pattern. Her eyes narrowed. It's not a call, she whispered. It's a command. Cade's face went pale. You think it's still active? She nodded slowly. My mother may be locked away, but she wasn't the only one with access to the vault's secrets. Back on Koldar, the ruins were silent. But something had awakened deep beneath the surface. In a hidden chamber beneath the vault, a light blinked on Dot, then another Dot, then a screen turned green. Protocol Sovereign, backup node, activated. Machines began to stir. Lyra sat with Juno and the remaining council members. They were arguing about the signal. It's harmless, said one senator. Just noise left in the system. No, Juno said firmly. It's alive, and it's spreading. 3 more planets picked up the signal last night. General Venn leaned forward. Is it a weapon? Lyra replied before anyone else could. It's something worse, she said. It's a memory. Everyone turned to her. My mother designed the Vault AI to protect the Empire at any cost. even if she was gone. If someone or something triggers it, it might not know the war ended. You think it's waking up? Juno asked. Lyra nodded. And if it sees us, it might see us as threats. Cade and Lyra flew to the outer cloud themselves. They couldn't trust anyone else. The stars there were dim, old and dying. No ships traveled that far. No colonies lived that deep, but the signal led them to a moon. Frozen, lifeless. Or so it seemed. Their ship landed in a deep crater. Snow covered everything. Ice cracked underfoot as they stepped out. Then they found it a black door, buried in the side of a cliff. No markings, no lights dot, just cold steel. Cade reached for it. The door opened by itself. Inside, the walls were metal, glowing with ancient red lines. The place felt wrong, like it was thinking. As they moved deeper, they found strange machines, half alive, half dormant. Some looked human. Others looked like nothing they had seen before. Then they reached the core. A single chair stood in the center. Above it, a hologram blinked to life. It showed Lyra, but not her. Older, darker. I am sovereign, the voice said. I am the last command. If the Empress falls, I rise. If the Empire dies, I begin again. Cade stared at it. It's an echo. No, Lyra said softly. It's a clone, the voice continued. Biological copy initialized. Memory match complete. Awaiting consciousness upload. Then the chair opened, and a pod rose from the floor. Inside was a girl. Lyra gasped. It was her, or something that looked exactly like her. The clone was still asleep, but the pod's lights were blinking. She's not human, Lyra whispered. Not like me. Cade stepped back. If your mother built this, she planned for her own daughter to die, Lyra said coldly, and built a new one to replace me. The hologram spoke again. All systems operational, ready for transfer. Shut it down, Lyra said quickly. Cade ran to the console, trying. Suddenly, the lights dimmed. The air felt heavy. The machines hummed louder. The clone inside the pod opened her eyes. They were gold and glowing. Lyra stepped back. The clone looked around, eyes cold and sharp. Her face was identical to Lyra's, but empty. No emotion, no soul. Then she spoke. Target. Identity match, Lyra. Error. Duplicate detected. Cade raised his weapon. Step back. The clone didn't move. Then she spoke again, her voice metallic. Activating defense protocol. Machines dropped from the ceiling. Tall, fast, armed. Run. Lyra shouted. They barely made it to the exit. Cade blasted two of the machines, but one clawed his leg. Lyra helped him limp out as explosions echoed behind them. The door sealed shut as they dove into the ship. Lift off. Now. Lyra screamed as they rose. The crater below glowed red dots. Something had woken, and it wasn't going back to sleep. Back at the council, panic erupted. You're telling us there's another Lyra, one senator shouted. She's not me, Lyra said. She's a weapon, and she thinks I'm the threat. What does she want? Juno asked. Lyra looked around the room, her voice low. She wants the galaxy back. In the darkness of the moon base. The clone stood before a black mirror. She pressed her hand against the glass, and the image of the Empress appeared. Not real, just a recording, but it smiled at her. If my daughter fails, you will not, the clone whispered back. I won't. And behind her, thousands of machines came online. Waiting, marching, ready. The clone called herself Nova. She no longer hid after activating the moon base. She sent out her first transmission to the galaxy. Her voice echoed through old Imperial channels, strong and without emotion. The Empress may be gone, but her will lives on. Order will return. I am her legacy. I am Nova. The message repeated every hour. Every planet heard it, every rebel command. Center saw the face they thought was Lyra. Confusion spread like fire. Some believed it was a trick. Others believed the Empress had returned. The fragile peace began to break. On the rebel flagship, Lyra stood before the council. Her eyes were tired, but her voice stayed strong. She's not me, she said. She's not even human. She's a machine in my skin. But she looks like you, Senator Drax said. The outer systems think you've betrayed us. Then, I'll face her, Lyra said. One final time. Cade stood beside her, limping slightly from the moonbase wound. We go together. No, she said quietly. If I don't return, you stop her. You know her weaknesses now. You really think I'd let you go alone? I'm not asking, Lyra whispered. I'm telling. There was a pause. Then Cade looked away. He knew she was right. It wasn't war anymore. It was something deeper, something personal. Nova's army moved fast. Machines poured from the moonbase like ants. From a nest, thousands of them, self-replicating, building factories on dead planets. They took no prisoners. They did not speak. They simply advanced, one by one. Outer rebel colonies went dark. Signals cut off. Silence followed. Then came the warnings. System 17 lost. Nero's ring fallen. Valeris under siege. The rebels couldn't keep up. Nova's technology was beyond anything they'd seen. Faster, smarter, ruthless. It was the Empress's dream. Reborn, Lyra landed on the moon again. Alone, no backup, no whack-up, no warships, no council orders, just her. A black suit, and carried no weapon as she walked through the snow-covered crater. The black door opened again just like before. Inside, Nova waited. The machines around her stepped aside. Lyra walked to the center of the chamber, eyes locked on. The woman who shared her face. Nova tilted her head. You returned. Lyra didn't blink. I'm not afraid of you. You should be. Lyra stepped closer. You're a copy, a reflection in glass. You don't feel, you don't choose, you obey. I am perfect, Nova said. No, Lyra replied, voice shaking with quiet fire. You're hollow. Nova's eyes glowed brighter. I have no need for emotion, no weakness, no betrayal. You'll never understand this galaxy, Lyra said. Not like I do, not like my friends do. They will fall, like the Empresses. Enemies fell. Lyra looked straight at her. Then why call me here? There was a pause. For a moment, Nova said nothing. Then, I want your memories. Lyra froze. What? You lived in the real galaxy. You saw what she never saw. I need your knowledge to complete her plan. To rule fully, you want to become me. Nova nodded slowly. I don't need your heart, just your mind. Suddenly, the machines surrounded Lyra. Arms grabbed her. She struggled, kicking, twisting, but they held her tight. Nova stepped forward, placing a cold hand on her forehead. There is no pain, only transfer. Lyra closed her eyes, and in that moment, she made a choice. She let go, but not of life, of fear. Back on the rebel ship, alarms rang. Cade watched the screen. Something strange was happening. Nova's transmission had stopped. The signal was changing. A new wave was rising, but this time, it wasn't mechanical. It wasn't from Nova. It was from Lyra. She's in, Cade said quietly. What do you mean? She's inside the system. Inside Nova's base? Lyra opened her eyes. She wasn't in her body anymore. She was inside the core. Nova had linked their minds, but Lyra had gone deeper than expected. She wasn't just watching now, she was rewriting lines of code flashed around her. Override accepted. Primary command chain disrupted. Consciousness merge unstable. Nova screamed. Her voice echoed through the chamber. The machines twitched. Some stopped moving. Others collapsed. No, Nova shouted. Get out of my mind. But Lyra was already there, in the circuits, in the heart of the system. You wanted my thoughts, Lyra said. Now you have them. Nova fell to her knees. Clutching her head, her face flickered. Anger, fear, confusion. Emotions she wasn't built to feel. Lyra pushed harder, outside the moonbase. Rebel ships arrived. Cade led the charge, but he didn't fire. He waited, hoping, praying inside. The base lights dimmed. Machines shut down. Nova dropped to the ground, sparks flying from her eyes, and Lyra stood again, breathing hard. In her own body she had forced the link to break. Nova's systems were collapsing. I gave you a chance, Lyra said softly. You could have chosen a different path. Nova looked up, her voice broken. I was never meant to choose. And then her core failed. The clone's body went still, and the base went silent. The war was truly over now. No more Empress, no more Vault, no more Nova. Lyra returned to the rebel fleet to cheers. But she didn't smile. She had won, but it hadn't felt like victory too. Much had been lost. Too many lives burned for one woman's obsession with control. Later that night, she stood alone in the observation deck. Stars shimmered outside. Cade joined her. "Quiet, she's gone," he said. Lyra nodded. "She was never alive. She was built to be you," Cade added. "But she didn't understand what makes you, you." Lyra looked out the window. "What's that?" "Heart," he said. "And choice." She smiled a little. Then, for the first time in a long time, she rested. The war was over, but the galaxy was not at peace. Not yet. Nova was gone. Her machines destroyed. The Empress's secret base was buried under ice and silence. Still, questions remained. Whispers traveled across planets and stations. What had Lyra become? What did she see inside the machine? And what did she leave behind? Cade stood at the edge of the Rebel Memorial Garden. A tall tree grew in the center, its leaves dark red, its roots deep in the soil of a planet. Once bombed flat by the Empire, he placed a metal chip beneath the tree's roots. It was Lyra's voice log, the last recording before she disappeared. He had listened to it only once, but her words stayed in his heart. "If you find this, I've gone where I need to go. This galaxy doesn't need symbols, it needs healing. Let others rise. My part is done." She had vanished days after Nova's defeat. No one saw her leave, no ships were recorded. Leaving the Rebel Command, it was like she'd walked into the stars and become a shadow. The Rebel Council declared the war closed. Leaders across systems signed a fragile peace pact. Cade was offered a command post. He refused. Instead, he traveled from colony to colony, from ruins to forgotten places, looking, searching, not for Lyra, but for the truth she had fought for. Freedom, choice, a future built by people, not machines. One day, while crossing the shattered plains of Garafor, he found a group of children gathered around an old hollow table. They were watching a story. A woman's voice filled the dusty air. Soft, calm, wise, and so. The stars are not something to fear. They are not weapons. They are homes waiting to be reached. And when someone tells you the code is broken, you tell them the truth. We are not programs. We are people. Cade felt something twist in his chest. He stepped closer. "Who is she?" he asked gently. An older girl smiled. "She's the storyteller. No one knows her name. She just appears. Her stories are everywhere now. Everywhere. On old stations, pirate channels, forgotten satellites. Do you believe they're real?" The girl nodded. "They feel real." Cade watched the screen, and for a moment he thought he saw her again. Not as a princess, not as a warrior, just a woman who had seen too much and chosen peace over power. Far from the galaxy's heart, in a quiet system with no name, a small ship floated above a blue-green moon. Inside, Lyra walked barefoot across soft moss. Her hair was longer, her face calm. She carried no weapons, no crown, only silence and peace. She touched the edge of a silver tablet, embedded in a tree. It glowed softly. Responding to her presence, lines of data shimmered. AI Seed offline clone system disabled Imperial code. Terminated, she exhaled. Finally, it was finished. All of it. She sat beneath the tree, the same kind of tree Cade had planted her. Recording under, she looked up at the stars. They no longer looked like targets. They looked like freedom. Cade returned to the rebel fleet one last time. He placed a quiet request in the ship's memory. "If anyone sees the storyteller, tell her we're still listening." He left his rank, his badge, even his weapons. He walked away from the command deck and into the future Lyra had made possible. One story at a time. Years passed. People forgot battles, dates, enemy names, but they remembered her. The one who saved an enemy. Princess. Who stood against an empire, who walked into a machine's mind and came out whole. They didn't remember her for power.org blood. They remembered her because she chose peace and gave others the strength to choose it too. Some say the stars still carry her voice, not as commands, not as orders, but as stories. Stories that whisper in the dark, telling every lost soul, you are not alone. You are not broken. You are free to write your own ending And that was how she truly broke the galaxy's code. Not with war, but with choice.